Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Sports Box, where the only opinion that matters is right here. I am Mike Galetta, a.k.a. Hamilton Mike, alongside Brian the Ranger Retard, to talk to you about more subjects that you just are going to just go nuts about and just love to talk about for weeks and months and days. Today we're going to talk about, unfortunately, the two deaths that happened today: Buddy Ryan of the Eagles and the Chicago Bears, and Pat Summitt, longtime coach of Tennessee. And you talk about these two people. What can you talk about Pat Summitt? Phenomenal Tennessee coach, played at the University of Tennessee. I believe she played at Tennessee. Phenomenal coach, broken a lot of women's records. I always had the big debate about 5 or 6 years ago. Could Pat Summitt ever do anything other than coaching the Tennessee Volunteers? But you know what? She didn't have to, because she did it her way, won a ton of games, just like the Connecticut coach Gino Auriemma. Thank you. They won games, and she was a phenomenal person and a great coach.
Well, I mean, through her career, she really put women's college basketball on the map. I mean, it never, unfortunately, it's never going to get the the media press, media coverage as the men's will. I mean, that is what it is. But I mean, she was just a giant in her sport. So it's very, very sad to see her go. She was only, I think, 64 years old. Very, very, just a shame to, that young. She brought a lot to women's basketball, and that's big shoes to fill. To someone. I mean, you mentioned Gino Auriemma, and maybe he's kind of the new coaching face of that. But
I think Gino, unfortunately, will probably break a lot of her records, because I think he's in for the long haul. But unfortunately, Pat Summitt, like I said, what can you say about a great lady and a great college coach in basketball? Then we talk about Buddy Ryan. You want to talk about the other extreme of Buddy Ryan. Buddy Ryan not only won a Super Bowl in Chicago and had the monsters of the Midway for the defensive team out there, and they were phenomenal. Came to Philadelphia, and I think the only downside he had in Philadelphia is I think he concentrated too much on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, I mean, as a D coordinator in Chicago, that was a all-time defense that he helped.
Oh, whatever.
I mean,
he brought that to Philadelphia.
He brought that bravado with him. I mean, you see a little bit in his kids too. Definitely has that ego and that media showiness. Again, he wasn't as successful as a head coach, but he was really instrumental in building a really, really good defense in Philadelphia as well. And those teams were good teams. I just think that some bad luck didn't really get, the Cunningham injury the one year, one game they went to Chicago, and I think it was the fog. Yeah, I mean, they just hit some really unfortunate, circumstances again. But not take anything away from Buddy Ryan. I mean, again, as a head coach, I think it was only 500 as a head coach. I mean, he knew defense very well, and maybe head coach wasn't really the best spot for him, but man, that man revolutionized football from a defensive perspective, and his kids will take on his legacy.
I mean, the year they went into the playoffs and beat the Saints, they got smacked around and following against the Cowboys. Like I said, the offensive wise, he had weapons on offense. You talk about Randall Cunningham, you talk about Heath Sherman, Keith Byers. Not bad players. Keith Byers, big hands. Great guy out of the backfield for you. Receivers, you had Mike Quick for a little while. You had Fred Barnett. Keith Jackson, the tight end. You had guys. The offensive line was terrible. He never really concentrated on the offensive line. Now, if you think about it, he would have put together somewhat of an offensive line for them. Who knows what they could have become? Because the problem wasn't scoring for the Eagles. They were shutting teams down on defense. It's just they couldn't move the ball effectively.
His legacy to me, I think, in this area is how beloved he is for having honestly never won anything.
Absolutely.
Call it what it is. Like, that team never really went very far. But he is a beloved figure in this area. He always will be.
For the body bag game and guys like that.
The
Luis Zendejas game where the field goal kicker got spun around and walked to the wrong sideline with Troy Aikman out there and things to that effect.
Like I said, Eagles history, frankly, is not one that's of large success. So for a guy who didn't bring home a championship, they're still looking for now. He's still very beloved. Rest in peace. He was also a giant in his sport.
Long fight with cancer, but did a lot for this city, and everybody, like Brian says, everybody loved this guy for no matter what he did. But rest in peace, Buddy, and rest in peace, Pat Summitt. That's all the time we have for the Sports Box. Keep an eye out for some new stuff coming. Again, we got some great videos. Remember, subscribe. Subscribing is free.
It's easy to do, too.
All it means is you get updates on our new shows that come out. Because remember, at Sports Box, the only opinion that matters.
It's right here.
It's right here. Keep an eye out. Take care. See you.
Don't forget to subscribe.